Okay, first up, the big story. Prime Minister today chaired a high-level meeting at his residence where he did review the Indus Water Treaty. There has been pressure on the central government to scrap the treaty in which India has unfettered rights to the rivers Beas, Satluj and Ravi, while Pakistan has unrestricted access to Jhelum, Chenab and Indus. Now, this could indeed have some massive consequence for Pakistan, as 90% of the country's irrigated area depends on water coming in from Indus. Scrapping the treaty could be seen as vengeance for the recent attack in Uri. But on the other hand, it could also have a serious backlash from China, who has shown support to Pakistan and could block water to India. And Indu Banerjee joins us for more on this. And Indu, this was an important meeting where the Prime Minister was briefed by officials from various ministries. Can you just tell us a little bit more on this crucial meet that happened a short while back?
Avantika, it's a very significant meeting considering the fact that this is one treaty that has stood the test of time over the years. It has seen through 3 wars, and also 2611. It have never been discussed by the Prime Minister. But today, after Uri attack, we have seen the Prime Minister discussing the pros and cons of the treaty and whether it can be changed, if at all. The meeting was, considering the people who have been involved in the whole discussion. There have been Nripendra Mishra, the Principal Secretary of the Prime Minister. Also, the Foreign Secretary Jaishankar was also there. NSA Doval, who seems to be a key man of Narendra Modi himself was there in 7RCR, of course chaired by the Prime Minister himself. So a very crucial meeting. We have to realize that also just a few days back there has been a preliminary meeting preliminary meeting that has already taken place in the Ministry of Water Resource, and now the concerned ministry's officials briefed the Prime Minister about what they have understood about the pros and cons. Now, before I conclude, Avantika, why it is so significant is this, because 90% of agriculture of Pakistan depends on the Indus water that we give them, and if that is changed and that is tweaked in any which ways, this can have serious complications. This can have serious ramifications as far as economic consequences in Pakistan is concerned, and that India is playing at this point of time as a warfare that is waged through psychological means.
Okay, an extremely significant meeting where the Prime Minister was briefed on the treaty amid rising tensions with Pakistan, and after speaking to officials involved in managing the Indus Water Treaty, India today exclusively has put together a range of options that were presented to the Prime Minister in that particular meeting. Let's just take a look as India Today's Rahul Kamal now decodes these options for us.
A very crucial meeting this at the Prime Minister's residence, looking at different options when it comes to the Indus Water Treaty. Remember, abrogating the treaty or reneging on any of India's international commitments is not what is on the agenda. What is on the agenda, though, is to better and fully utilize the water that is entitled for India to be used under the Indus Water Treaty. First and foremost, a lot of the water that is available to India doesn't get properly and fully utilized. So what the government can think about doing is commission new run-of-the-river dams in Jammu and Kashmir. Remember, water from the Jhelum, the Chenab and the Indus flows largely unrestricted into Pakistan. India can use this to meet the power and irrigation requirements of the state of Jammu and Kashmir. That's one option the Prime Minister can very clearly look at. The other thing which the Indus Water Treaty allows India to do, but which isn't done just now, is to store more water that flows especially from Jammu and Kashmir. India is allowed to irrigate about 13.4 lakh acres of water in Jammu and Kashmir. In comparison, only about 6.42 lakh acres of land is irrigated in Jammu and Kashmir. That's roughly half of India's authorized entitlement under the IWT. You can also store 3.60 million acre feet of water of the Jhelum, the Indus and the Chenab. Remember, these are fast-flowing rivers. They flow through Jammu and Kashmir into Pakistan. We've got very little storage capacity. When this treaty was signed in 1960, at that time, Jammu and Kashmir's requirements were much lesser than now, and therefore, there is no storage capacity. Apart from this, let's now shift our attention to the eastern rivers of Satluj, Beas and Ravi. India is entitled to use virtually all the water of these 3 rivers under the IWT. And while we do try and use a lot of the water, a lot of it actually flows into Pakistan because of a dispute between Haryana and Punjab over the Satluj-Yamuna link canal. Remember, these two states have been locked for several years in a dispute. As a consequence, the water which should be going into Rajasthan doesn't do so, and it flows instead into Pakistan. What the Prime Minister is also being told to look at is finding a solution to this problem between Haryana and Punjab so that this water doesn't flow into Pakistan. It doesn't need to under the IWT. It can go into Rajasthan to irrigate the lands there. So as you've just seen in these 11 points, there's a lot India can do even within the current provisions of the Indus Water Treaty without having to renege on any international commitments. Things which aren't being done right now, moves which will make Pakistan quite uncomfortable.
Absolutely, Rahul, and that makes sense, Anindo, isn't it? And that perhaps explains just why this meeting is so important, how India can best utilize the water coming in from Indus, and, how there can be no violation of this international water treaty signed between both the nations.
Absolutely, Avantika. Rahul has been absolutely comprehensive, and he detailed the ways and means that India can not ditch the provisions that has been signed in the treaty, but still use, for instance, India uses as much as 19.2% of the Indus water, but that is allowed for India to use, though it's hopelessly skewed, but even then we don't even use that 19.2%. We can use that 19.2% by building small dams, by for our domestic consumptions and local irrigation projects. So these are just ways and means that we can use, and even if we do that, that will have a certain amount of economic bearing on Pakistan. That is just one aspect.
Okay.
There will be plethora of consequences on Pakistan, because remember, what is so crucial of Pakistan's survival is that Pakistan is an agricultural state by basic
right.
tenets of its survival, and 90% of its agriculture survives on Indus River water. So any cut on today's water, what we are giving them, within legally allowed provisions, that can have serious implications.
Let's also just get an executive editor, Gaurav Sawant. Gaurav, we were talking about the importance of this meeting. It's coming at a time when tensions are at a peak between India and Pakistan. But it's very interesting how Rahul just explained it to us, that there are so many other provisions in this treaty that India can best utilize without really violating the water sharing agreement between both the nations.
Spot on there, Avantika, and from what sources tell India Today, all these options were discussed in this very important meeting which had the Central Water Commission members, Water Resources Ministry, Ministry of External Affairs representatives, and also the National Security Advisor along with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Various options were discussed. Interlinking of rivers is one option that was also discussed, is what sources tell India Today. At this point of time, abrogation of the treaty is not on the cards. But then the fact that India is relooking the Indus Water Treaty, and given the tension between India and Pakistan, the fact that everything's on the table sends a very strong signal to Pakistan. But what does this mean in actual terms? Because after Parliament was attacked in December 2001, in February 2002, Farooq Abdullah, then Chief Minister Jammu Kashmir, had also talked about abrogation of Indus Water Treaty because this is unkind to the people of Jammu and Kashmir. He had accused Pakistan of cheating the people of Jammu and Kashmir out of their water and out of money, because millions of dollars every year is lost in terms of hydel power, money that can come from hydel power. Pakistan gets that water. India does not even utilize what is rightfully India's as per the 1960 treaty. So options are on the table, but long-term solutions, no short-term solutions here, Avantika.
Absolutely. Gaurav and Anindo, thank you both for joining us. Well, as the Prime Minister reviewed the 56-year-old Indus Water Treaty with Pakistan, some senior Kashmiri leaders, in fact, have spoken out against changes in the treaty. The former Water Resource Minister, Saifuddin Soz, has categorically stated that if there is any change in the existing treaty, the only country which will benefit would be China. And joining him was senior PDP leader Muzaffar Beg, who has also said that there was absolutely no question of abrogating the treaty with Pakistan. Let's just listen in to those reactions.
Now, if we revisit, that revisit of the treaty will help neither Pakistan nor India, but China. China is waiting for this, and I am actually sometimes worried about China's diplomacy. It is very subtle, very organized, I must tell you that. And around this time, China can, you see, serve Pakistan's interest to an extent, but China is, you see, waiting in the wings. If you revisit, then you give China, you see, the authority to renegotiate. And in that renegotiation, India and Pakistan may not benefit equally.
When people say that they want to abrogate this treaty, they do not understand, number one, if you abrogate the treaty, assuming you can abrogate the treaty, Pakistan can also abrogate the treaty. You stop water, they will stop water. Second thing is that you can actually not stop water. Suppose we build a dam and stop the water of River Jhelum. In 6 months to 1 year, the entire valley will be drowned. It will be drowned. So how can you stop the water? So the thirdly is this, that if you have some grievance about the implementation of the treaty, there is a forum, there is a tribunal under the treaty set up, and you can go and ask that tribunal. You can have a complaint about Pakistan, or Pakistan can have a complaint about India about the implementation of the treaty. They can go to the tribunal and ask for adjudication. There's no question of abrogating this treaty. Nobody will do it. Nobody can do it.
And while the Prime Minister is reviewing the Indus Water Treaty, India is also preparing itself to shame Pakistan as a global terror epicenter. This evening, it's going to be a very big day today, as the External Affairs Minister of India, Sushma Swaraj, will take on Pakistan at the United Nations General Assembly and is ready to give what we hear a befitting reply to Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif's Kashmir rant at the UNGA. Sushma Swaraj will expose Pakistan-sponsored terror and in fact even call for isolating the country for backstabbing. The External Affairs Minister is likely to expose Pakistan's unwillingness to crack down on terror. Sushma Swaraj's speech comes just after Prime Minister's strong rebuttal at the BJP National Council meeting at Kozhikode, and her tone is also likely to be pretty similar to that of the Prime Minister, tough and blunt, sending out a strong message to Pakistan.